Hi everybody, Iron Weasel here, and I have a very special case of stupidity coming out of Everytown for gun safety in the Trace today. The title is "The First Stand Your Ground Shooting in Missouri Was Over a Stolen Cell Phone," which would be all fine and dandy except for the fact that this was clearly not a stand your ground shooting. It definitely straddles a moral gray area, and we're going to get into that, but legally it is pretty clear that it was a bad shoot. I'm going to skip some of the fluff in the article, but it starts with a 23-year-old man named Carl Henson, who was the shooter attempting to make a private sale of a cell phone. After some scheduling drama, Carl met 20-year-old Devontae Robinson, who is our shootee, in the front yard of a 2-story duplex in a cul-de-sac in North Columbia to make the exchange. After some more deliberation, Robinson asks to examine the phone and takes off running with the iPhone still in his possession. Carl then drew his firearm and shot at Robinson 7 times as he was fleeing, striking him once in the heel. Now at this point, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Good, that was a justifiable shoot because he was attempting to steal property from Carl. I tend to agree, at least on a moral level. If you try to steal from someone, I think you by default accept the dangers that come with such a proposition. But we're not here to talk about morality. We're here to talk about stand your ground laws. I guess at this point, it would be good to mention that I am not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice. But I am pretty savvy when it comes to laws, and especially self-defense laws. First, and our most important point, is that this was not, I repeat, not a justifiable shoot under Stand Your Ground. Under these laws, you are protected if you have to use lethal force to defend your life or the lives of others. At no time was Mr. Henson's life in danger, nor were the lives of those around him in danger. So that alone means that this is not a Stand Your Ground case. Robinson never threatened anyone's safety, so Stand Your Ground does not apply here. The Trace goes on to quote Henson as saying, "The only reason I thought it was okay to shoot at him while he was running away was because of what happened with the new year, with the gun law change." And this is the hook. The Trace in Everytown would have you believe that because some fool decided to give himself bad legal advice, that the law itself is dangerous. The Trace continues to point out their own disingenuous title later in the article by stating what I just said, that this was not a case of stand your ground, but rather a shooting that was legally speaking at any rate unjustified. They go on to point out that Henson was taken into custody immediately after the shooting and charged with criminal action with a firearm and first-degree assault, meaning the Trace is fully aware that this is not the first case of a stand your ground shooting. They go on to point out some obscure non sequitur cases of a sheriff that shot a drunk man in his garage and a woman who came home to find a naked man in her shower, and try to link them to this shooting via some liberal mental gymnastics, which is completely absurd since those cases clearly fall under the Castle Doctrine. So if the Trace corrected themselves in their article, then why am I making a fuss, you ask? Simple. As we know, the vast majority of people lead busy lives and don't have the time to sit down and sift through an article like this. By giving us a deceptive title and burying their correction at the bottom of the page, they ensure that most people will either read the title and stop there, or skim the article and miss the part where they themselves point out their own deceptive statement. They don't put it at the very bottom either, because they know savvy readers will skim the top and bottom of an article to get the highlights. By leaving it in, they give themselves plausible deniability, if anyone were to point out the blatant attempt at deception, like I'm doing here. This is the kind of deceptive tactics I've come to expect from groups like Everytown and the Trace. Join me next week as I tackle another piece of fake news and hopefully have some better visuals for you. This is Iron Weasel, signing out.